the builder that was with us.
Don Charlier.
Don Charlier, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, we are alive.
Patrick, is that the beginning of your PowerPoint?
Right there.
Thank you, Patrick. It's now 6 p.m. and the December 8th meeting of the CDA will please come to order. Patrick, would you take roll call, please?
Wayne Clark,
Yes, thank you.
Karen Gale,
Yes, I'm here.
Don Niemer,
Here.
Alderman Weigel. You'll be joining us. Alderman Haas,
Here.
Chris Sogstead,
Here.
and Chairman Motter, Jerry Motter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Patrick. First item, can I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes stand approved. Item 2, discussion regarding the Mandel Group proposed phase number 2 of the Market Development South National SONA. Mr. Stiebel?
Patrick.
Mr. Chairman, tonight what we want to do is kind of give a recap of where we're at with the SONA project and working with Mandel. We did want to just show here what was submitted to Plan Commission and architecturally what's been gone through that process and is in for recommendation for approval through that process. The thing to note, we want you to look at this, and then in closed session, we will talk about the financing structure of where we're at with negotiations. So you can kind of see what our investment would get is kind of what we wanted to do here at first. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean Miller, who will discuss the architectural and the process.
Thank you, Patrick. Yep, like Patrick noted, we'll just run through these the slides of the sort of the design and the site plans, so to give you a feel for what you're going to see. This is obviously the area south of National Avenue, SONA. NONA is complete between the west and Aurora, and so now we've moved on to SONA immediately west of the farmers market. So this, what you see here, this slide is the 110 unit mixed use building. It has it's a 3-story building that also has 2 commercial end caps on it, which are sized at about 2,900 square feet on the north, and then 2,000 square foot commercial end cap on the south. Overall, it's about a $25 million project. They hope to break ground in spring of next year, and then open it up a year after that. This just shows the basic layout of the building itself. This building will be positioned sort of along the railroad tracks, and then along sort of an L shape, then along National Avenue. You can kind of see that there, and then the 2 retail end caps sort of mark the 2 ends of the building. The northern retail end cap has a nice kind of terrace outdoor dining area. It's designed ideally for some sort of restaurant user, which would be right at the main entrance to the site off of National Avenue. The driveway would be immediately north of that. And then this second multifamily building for Mandel now they have a pool as their sort of their big amenity for this. And you can kind of see that south of the terrace area. And then you see the various, parking area that kind of goes along with it. The parking breakdown, it does have a fair amount of parking as the West did. It's a good concept that way. It seems like it's worked out well where they haven't had too much parking, but they've been able to absorb the parking, into their site. And so this has a similar ratio than what the West had. 89 underground, 41 above for residents, 24 for guests. And then this just notes that we wanted them to show their outdoor parking area on the site plan. So they're working on doing that. They will have, obviously within the indoor parking area, there will be a space for every car. There'll also be a space for a bike adjacent to it. This just notes the parking precedent. You can see the west had a lot more parking than actually the original sort of multifamily development in the 6 Points area, the Tolt development, which is 6 Points Crossing. You can see these sites are set up to absorb the parking a little bit better than that initial development was. This just run through the look of the buildings, very quickly. It's going to be a mix of corrugated metal cladding and brick. And then just kind of how you may see on the first apartment building, the west, north of National Avenue, the big thing you notice are just the size of the windows. It almost, takes away from everything else. It's just pretty striking from that standpoint. So it's going to have that same kind of look of large oversized windows. This is just a view of the material palette, the actual samples of the corrugated metal and the brick. It's going to be kind of a brownish brick, which doesn't show that, well on the screen here, but you could see it on there. It's sort of a brownish, a darker brownish kind of brick. Again, this just shows the different views of the building. That upper view, I believe, is a view facing National Avenue. And then these are actually both views that face National. This is a view of sort of the inside view of the building that faces the parking lot. You're looking, this view is right from the pool area out towards the sort of the interior view of the building. Again, a mix of brick and the metal product. You can see that they have, again, just like on the Nona building, they have a very large sort of exaggerated roof line that sticks out from the building, which is kind of a nice look. The balconies, they're sort of cladding the balconies with the colors to sort of brighten the building up and give it an interesting look. And then this is just a view of the south wall that would sort of face the very southern end of the site. This is the southern end cap of the building. We're working with them on getting it a little more at the base level, getting a little more articulation down there. This is the other portion of phase 1 of the development. It's called Makers Row, about 17,000 square feet. The anchor tenant, was announced in the papers, Valentine Coffee. So they're gonna take the biggest tenant space, about 11,000 square feet of space. And then they will have 2 other spaces, which they are looking for tenants for as we speak. 6,000 square foot space, and then a smaller space that's sort of shared in between. Building A will include kind of a mezzanine second floor area. That's where they're going to have their offices that sort of overlook the retail space on one side, and then and they can also oversee sort of the roastery area on the other side of the space. This just breaks down the Valentine Coffee space itself. Shows that 25% of its retail, 25% is sort of is the back of house and offices, and then half the space is their production, roasting, grinding storage, shipping area. You probably you see their coffee in a lot of restaurants, so obviously they do a lot of business that way, and so we're excited to have that aspect of the business here in West Allis. This just breaks down their parking situation. I don't think we need to talk about that too much. They're covering themselves with enough parking. This is a view from the corner of 66th and National. And so, as you approach the site from National, turn down towards the farmer's market, it'll be a very active site with their outdoor area and their pergola that sort of covers that outdoor space. So this just kind of shows that and how it faces the market and faces out to National Avenue. This is the tenant space C, the southern portion of the Makers Row space, which they don't have a tenant for yet. And so this is just the look that they will have for that. Again, kind of a galvanized metal look with large windows.
We're hoping we can attract Maker's Mark, but that's another discussion.
This just shows how the colors are going to vary between the three buildings. So that's just a concept here, just to show that. This is a view from the drive as you would drive into the site. And so you see the sort of the backside of the Valentine coffee space. Again, large windows that, you can look in and see some activity in the building. And then, obviously this impacts the farmers market and parking. People have sort of, used that gravel space over the years as it's been available for parking. And we want to make sure, the key to this whole thing is the farmers market. And we want to make sure the farmers market thrives as we always, do our best to continue it going. And so with that, we're making sure to address the parking situation. There might be in the temporary, in the short term, perhaps, in 2021, there might be a little bit less parking than there is today. But in the long run, we think there will actually be more parking. They're going to be able to share about 44 stalls on site. We think we have a good lead on getting an easement with the church to the south for using those stalls on Saturdays, really when they're needed. And then we also have sort of the long range is that those 160 stalls that you see to the west is sort of more of a long range plan. So those won't be there in 2021 necessarily, but hopefully in 2022, 2023 as part of the redevelopment of the brewery site, the Perfect Screw site, and then the building to the west of that. So those stalls would all be shared between those two users and the farmers market as we go. So we'll talk about, I think we'd like to talk about some of the financing details in closed session.
Thank you, Sean. Patrick, is anything further? Can we go to item number 3?
We can go to item number 3. As Sean mentioned, we'll go over the financing structures that we're currently still
In closed
negotiating
session?
in closed
Yes.
session.
Thank you. Item number 3, discussion regarding the property located at 10620 West Greenfield Avenue. Mr. Stiebel.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Mr. Chairman, Alderperson Grisham and Alderperson Keene have recently addressed the visioning of Highway 100, and one of the issues that came up in this discussion is the vacant Burger King. This space has been vacant since 2012, and it has had numerous sightings for nuisance issues such as weeds, painting, condition of the property, etc. There are some strategies, and a year ago we reviewed those discussions about how to address this property. I just wanted to share tonight that I did reach out to Burger King and twice here since the meeting with both alderpersons, and got a name at Burger King who recently emailed me saying they're exploring different venues that they currently operate and to see if that might work at this location. I hope to get more information on that. Ideally, that is the best situation if they can repurpose the building and use it for one of their national brands. However, this is a discussion we can have just briefly in closed session about what is the long-term vision of how we can address this. The real estate community has expressed concern. They can't get a hold of anybody. I've talked to numerous brokers that have projects that could go at this site and have expressed interest. And that's what I wanted to kind of share with the CDA tonight. I think a year ago, we decided maybe to, not look at purchasing the land. And as if I remember, show to the members of the CDA, the Burger King building itself is a separate ownership, and the land underneath the Burger King is a investment property. So they land lease that the land that's underneath the Burger King. That's a private entity. And then there's an ownership structure that the parking lot that you see here to the west is owned by Burger King. So that ownership structure has had some issues. It has around a value of $585,000 for all the land and improvements at the site. Gladly answer any questions you may have. I just wanted to have this on the agenda for a discussion. for tonight's meeting.
Are there any questions for Patrick regarding this item?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Haas.
Go ahead, Alderman Haas.
Yeah, Patrick, so the Village of Greendale is using condemnation as a tool to acquire the former Boston store site at Southridge. Is that something that we would want to consider, considering this site is certainly much more blighted, I would think, even than the Boston store at Southridge, the vacant Boston store at Southridge? Is condemnation something staff has considered and rejected? Is that something that is on our list of possibilities? What's the situation?
That, that's a very powerful tool that the CDA and the city has at its disposal. That the property does meet some of those benchmarks. We as staff have consulted with our city attorney, and one of the best alternatives is maybe exploring ownership of the property versus that process. It's a very expensive legal process. That's something more we can, our discussion on how to pursue with this in closed session. But, this property at $585,000, the legal rights associated with condemnation could be a lot more expensive than acquisition. So those are things that are definitely at play and part of the discussion on how to deal with the property.
Yeah, this is Don Niemer.
Go ahead, Mr. Niemer.
Just a comment. Condemnation for development purposes is a very tough legal threshold. So I would recommend trying to stay away from that as much as possible.
Again, as we discussed with the owner, hopefully we can get them excited. We're excited about them wanting to put maybe a national brand here, and it just shows the vitality of the area. But seeing it remaining idle, this could be another situation where they leave the property idle for the remainder of their lease, which is another 2 years. And they have a lease that goes to 2023. But we will continue to discuss this with our city attorney and see what the best avenue is to address the vacancy and the blight.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for this item? If not, we'll go to item 4. Resolution to amend letter of intent and agreement with the West Dallas Brewing Properties LLC for the sale of properties located at 6749 to 51 West National Avenue, former Perfect Screw property, 6700 West National, former portion of National Salvage, and portions of 6700 West Mitchell Street. Mr. Steele.
Patrick.
Mr. Chairman and members of the authority, we have a signed LOI with West Dallas Brewing Property LLC. It actually expired at the end of October, early November. This idea here is to extend it out another 90 days from tonight. The financing in the market is challenging right now with COVID. They probably have a dozen or more packets out to various financial institutions, but they have gone through the city municipal approval process. They are laying out all their building plans right now to get submittals for building. So when they do have their financing in place, they will be ready to go. But they need a little bit more time to secure the final financing for the project.
Are there any questions for Patrick?
Mr. Chair, this is Marty Weigel.
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
Patrick, is 90 days going to be enough for them? Are we going to see a substantial change in the financing in this field? It's December, middle of December now. That takes us to the middle of February. And I guess it's not the end of the world if we have to come back. Does the brewery owners understand that we're behind them on this? They're not feeling under the gun with just a 90-day. If we went to 120 or even 150, would that be a problem?
No, I did 90 days just so that we can refresh and see where we're at in 90 days. I feel optimistic with the information that's been sent out to a couple of other financial institutions, but it'd probably be closer to 180. But at that point, the CDA would have another option to renew the LOI. this is pretty much in our good faith to show that we're not going to negotiate with anybody else at this time and help them through this process.
Right, and they understand that we're behind them.
Yes.
I know, I think we talked to a couple of principals in the hallway one day. I never had an actual meeting with them. But I
Right.
want them to, I don't want them to think that we're giving them 90 days to put up or shut up, you know. We all understand how tough this financing is going to be on this right now, so.
Correct.
Thank you.
You looking for a resolution?
We would need a motion,
I
Mr. Chair.
move,
and-
I move approval.
I'll second.
Been moved for approval and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution passes. Item 5, resolution approving a $200,000 US EPA brownfield revolving loan to DJE Enterprises LLC for the redevelopment of the properties at 1900 South 76th Street. Mr. Stevel.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Mr. Chair, we can take 5 and 6 together.
All right, thank you. Item 6, resolution to approve development of the grant for DEC Enterprises LLC in the amount of not to exceed $200,000 for the redevelopment of the property located at 1900 South 76th Street. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, this is a property on 76 and Hicks. It's 1900 South 76th Street. It's a property that's had some environmental contamination and has gone through the process to get Wisconsin DNR closure. However, when the site is redeveloped, to get the optimal use out of the site and help us as a community to get the highest taxable value and use out of the property, we were working with a developer on the site on a project that would include office, showroom, and warehousing space for their service industry business. DGE Enterprises LLC would be the real estate entity that would buy the property. And the entity did walk several times from this discussion because of the increased costs related to the environmental and soil management and stormwater costs. The US EPA $1 million revolving loan fund that the city currently has funds available that can be loaned out to address brownfield conditions. And we started at 100,000 and through negotiation had to go up to 200,000 to deal with the increased stormwater and soil management costs. This has the potential to retain jobs in our city and also add new technical service industry jobs to our community. The 200,000 would be at 1% interest and on a 10-year term. And that's very similar to loans that we've provided to Yellow Freight and or the Aurora Clinic and utilization of our EPA funds. And its number one use of these funds is for dealing with environmental issues and that are barriers to development. So that is the first part of the assistance. The other part of the assistance is a $200,000, we call it on here a developer grant or TIF grant. This would be because the site is within a half-mile radius of TIF number 14, which is 68th and Mitchell, the UHS development in that particular area. And the 200,000 would be a grant to help deal with the increased costs of the property. So it's an overall public incentive of 400,000. Of 200,000 would be repaid through the revolving loan fund. Gladly answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Patrick, the EPA brownfield revolving loan of 200,000, how was that number established other than through negotiations? In other words, is there a solid basis for 200,000?
The solid basis is the construction cost between putting a pond above ground and not getting the full development of the site and use of the site, and then putting the stormwater control system underground and then doing the soil management and barrier on the site.
And a follow-on question, the proposed tenant, is that a tenant? You mentioned warehouse, I believe. Is that an organization, the use that we would want at this location?
This is a local established business. It has a long-standing history. This is our commitment showing to them hey, we're interested in helping you, backing you on developing the site for this $1.5 to $2 million project. And they want to have a showroom here that's state of the art, offices for their business, and to grow for another 50 years in our community. They've outlined a site plan in their draft proposal and laid out a kind of a concept of a building. And they are now locking up the property under contract to be able to facilitate the development and securing all the environmental items necessary to start the process of local approvals.
If I may, finally, is this utilization compatible with the community, with that area?
I would think so. I mean, it'll have a nice storefront commercial presence along 76th Street. It fits in with the long range plan of the city, and also retains jobs, etc., within this area. The business was looking outside of the community as well.
I'd move
Mr.
approval of 5 and 6.
And I'll second, but Mr. Chair, I have some questions and
All
comments
right,
also.
it's going to get to you. Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
Patrick, does this 200K from the TIF loan grant come with any numbers they have to hit on job production or job retention? And I mentioned to you in a phone call earlier this week that, I mean, we're seeing this picture here, and I certainly don't want to see it get dumbed down. I mean, if the taxpayers directly or indirectly are investing in this property, we want to make sure it looks as nice as, not that we've seen a fleshed out drawing or anything. This is, I mean, unless I don't know if you have more on this. And I guess I didn't notice, was this going to be a closed session item also? No.
We do have it in closed session,
Okay.
just so we can go over the name of the company and the jobs
Yep,
and things like
yep,
that.
okay.
So,
You know, I guess maybe some of that stuff is better for closed session when it comes to negotiating the money side of it. So,
right.
but yeah, my question is, as long as we have some sort of job retention or job, you know, keeping or increasing the number of good paying jobs that they're going to be having here in our city. So, but if that can wait for closed session, that's fine.
Okay.
Anything further, Patrick?
That is all I have,
Do
Mr.
you
Chairman. I
wanna
have
hold these
a motion
resolutions?
I have a motion from Wayne Clark and a second by Alderman Weigel on 5 and 6.
And Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
do we want to wait until after closed session to vote on this?
That's what I was just going to ask Patrick. Do you want to hold
Okay.
the vote?
That is fine.
All right. We'll hold the vote until after closed session to answer some of those other questions. Do you want to go into closed session now, or do you want to do number 7 first?
We can run quickly through 7 and then we'll go into closed session.
All right, number 7, consideration relative to the report on redevelopment initiatives. Mr. Stevel.
Patrick,
Thank you, John. Members of the authority, this is a development we've talked about before on 81st and National about some smaller kind of tiny home condo concept. This discussion, I met with the developer on Tuesday or on Monday afternoon, and this is alive and they are still working out those details. I hope to have more information by tomorrow. This involves maybe the former hobby store parcel, maybe Pyramex Bank, and they're exploring how to do the development on that. And then it has some interest in the railroad park that's associated with some aspects of rail. And we can hopefully talk about that project in the future, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Sean?
Also in that same neighborhood, there's a building, you can kind of see it in the background here, this mixed use building on, it's 8121 West National Avenue. This was going to be part of that condo project, but it appears as though the owner is interested in keeping the building and has landed a great tenant. So this is just an update on the National Avenue corridor. And they landed a Flower Girl and Flame. They're associated with Tall Guy in a Grill. She actually works with Tall Guy in a Grill and will continue to, but then also is opening this separate business. We're very excited to get this tenant at this location. And they also have interest in using the railroad park as part of their business plan. She currently has a wood-fired pizza thing on wheels, kind of on a trailer, that she takes to different events, cooks the pizzas at the events, and things like that. It's a really nice use. They do plan to have some sort of seating or retail options here at this location. It'll mainly act as a kind of a kitchen type thing, but will also create some activity at the site.
Members of the authority, at Element 84, I just wanted to mention that we spoke with the developer recently, and as of, I believe it was last Friday, they were 98% occupied. They had 4 units remaining. And between the Mandel project and this project, they're both almost at 100% occupancy, and that's quite a success, even during a period of COVID. On 7020 West National Avenue, this is a dental office with medical space as well, or other office space. It has started construction. This is the rendering of the project. I think it was a project that took a lot of work. I want to commend John Stiebel for working with Milwaukee County and the developer and getting this through the process and securing the funding and necessary to land this nice project along the avenue. That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, Roach.
Pardon?
Mr. Chairman, Roach.
Go ahead, sir.
Patrick, the first slide that you showed with the, I forget the name of it, the mini condos, the tiny houses. How is that going to work with the Flower Girl building?
They are showing me a new site plan that does not include that building.
So they're going to go around it?
Somewhere around it, yes.
So they want both sides and leave the Flower Girl Pizza building standing and then work around that and then go east to the railroad park. Is that
There's
my
another
understanding?
parcel in there as well, which is a small little service station. I believe the ownership is Mel Adams. That parcel also may or may not be involved in that discussion. But they are reviewing everything and resubmitting a proposal. This is the early renderings that they shared with us. And I just wanted to pretty much tell you that this project is alive. It seemed like it got quiet for a while and it's come back. And this other one was happening. So we're just kind of showing you there's a lot of activity in this corridor.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Patrick regarding this redevelopment initiatives? If not, we'll go to closed session. Our agenda is 2 to 6. The committee may convene in closed session pertinent to provision section 19.85/1/C of the state of Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating and investing public funds whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session. This committee may convene in open sessions after completion of the closed session and consider the balance of his agenda. Patrick, would you take roll call, please? Or can we have a motion to go in closed session?
1 second.
Thank you. Patrick, would you take roll call, please?
Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Karen Gale,
Yes.
Don Niemer,
Yes.
Alderman Weigel,
Aye.
Alderman Haas,
Aye.
Chris Sogstead,
Yes.
Jerry Mutter.
Aye. We are
Motion
now in closed
passes.
session.
Now, 1 second as I turn off the
Okay.
live feed.